Welcome to the WithYou Rugby Podcast, designed to give you an in-depth look at the United States Rugby Foundation, including our grant programs and recipients, fundraisers, events, and much more. Now let's get started. Today we'll be checking back in with U.S. U18 player Damian Morley, who, with the foundation grants from a Graham Downs Development Fund and the Pathways to Excellence Fund, have allowed him to take part in an extended stay at the Stellenbosch Academy of Sport in Stellenbosch, South Africa. Damian, welcome. Thank you for joining us again today.
Thank you for having me. How are you guys?
Very, very good. Hey, Damian, you've been in South Africa now at Stellenbosch for over 3 months. Tell us how the experience is going. How do you like living in South Africa?
Living in South Africa is it's pretty great for me because I find that coming from a big city, especially New York, there's a good balance of like nature and urban life, especially in Stellenbosch. Like I can walk out of the academy, like I can take a right and I'm at like a beautiful, like all the athletic fields surrounded by like the mountains and everything, or take a left, I'm right in town to have a coffee or something. And I remember when we first talked, I actually hadn't had much time to sort of experience the country and stuff like that, but we had a little bit of time off here and there, and I had a little bit more time to explore and go on adventures and stuff like that. So it's been really fun. We were able to check out this little like surf town outside of Cape Town, which was really cool. And if you know me, I love surfing. So that was a really awesome experience. And just, I don't know, being able to see a country and have that independence of like traveling on my own with friends is an awesome experience. Like not only just from a rugby experience, but just like as a person, being able to enjoy that sort of independence and learn how to travel in a different country is really, really cool.
Now, what do you think about the South African approach to rugby?
Actually, I thought the approach to rugby in South Africa wasn't too dissimilar to my my experience with rugby so far in the United States. With my experience in the United States so far, there's a system in play that the coaches give the players to unlock the defense and the attack piece, or to control the opposition defensively. So it's not too dissimilar in the sense that the coaches create a system that gives the players like the outlets to control the opposition and get on the board and stuff like that. But on a sort of a broader scale, obviously the skill level here is a bit higher than in the States. So like we'll rely more on like an aggressive kicking game and stuff like that, which you might not see as much at like the collegiate level or the high school level in the United States. So from a skill set point of view, the approach to rugby is very high. It relies on the halfbacks to really control the team and stuff like that, and then gives the forwards the ability to go out there and do the dirty work so that the backs can, get on quick ball or turn the ball over in defense, stuff like that.
And what are some of those things you've learned so far down there at the Stellenbosch Academy rugby-wise?
I mean, like if we're just talking about all the stuff I've learned, I feel like we'd be here all day. But I came into camp, like there are certain things that I really wanted to work on, and I definitely felt like I achieved some of those. Real quick, like from a strength and conditioning perspective, I knew I wanted to come into camp and get fitter and stronger and stuff like that. So the 10 weeks of preseason that we did have, although it was very challenging and it was quite hard to get through, by the end of it, I knew I was sort of in the best playing shape I'd ever been in. And something like strength and conditioning is especially something like performance indicators are sort of easier to find, like you can time a bronco, you can tell if you're getting faster, fitter, or whatever. So that was a big thing that I felt like I worked on really well and I did improve on. But from a rugby side, I got here and I knew I wanted to work on my game management. I feel like as a player, I feel I'm a natural communicator. So game managing, especially in a position like scrum half, needs to be a staple of your game if you want to be a world-class player. So from a game managing side, just the approach to rugby here helped me sort of understand the game in a deeper sense to the point where like something I wouldn't think about too deeply. Like in the United States, like here, because we have sort of an aggressive kicking game, like we really want to play in the right parts of the field, I wouldn't necessarily be thinking about like the quality of our chase. Whereas now, you're kind of trying to think about that a phase or two ahead to get the tight five involved in that ruck, so you can get the fastest players on their feet and stuff like that. And then another thing was I really wanted to work on my tempo, which was something I came out of the USA under 18 camp as sort of a big work on for me. I felt like I had a good flow to the game, and I controlled the game well. But one thing I came away from that camp was like I'd be playing fast when we should have been playing a little slower, or like playing too slow when we were on front football and stuff like that. So that was something I definitely wanted to work on, and I definitely felt like I improved on. And that goes hand in hand with sort of understanding the game, and then understanding support play and stuff like that, taking positive lines from the ruck, and then beating a defender on the fold if you're the first one out of the ruck and stuff like that. So just working on my tempo and game management had sort of a knock-on effect on sort of my playing as a whole. But I guess the one biggest thing I felt like I've worked on the most was being able to sort of respond to the opposition, like as the game grows longer. Like you see all these, like you watch like international games, and you'll see like they'll have a couple lineouts, nothing goes, like everything's going to plan, and then out of nowhere they pull a set move and score a try, and that's because they've noticed that like a player was overcommitting from the tail lineout or something like that. So that was definitely something I want to work on, was being able to be aware of the opposition and then react accordingly and stuff like that. So like something like if the scrums are really contested, that I could notice that and then defensively put pressure on the opposite scrum half at the source instead of maybe staying back and defending in the defensive line and stuff like that. Or if the opposition's like taking a bit too long to roll away at the ruck, that's something I can notice and then be like, tell the ref, oh, we're trying to play a quick game here, but they're taking too long to roll away. Can you just keep an extra eye on that? So I definitely felt like I've seen some improvements in sort of a lot of components of my game. So SAS has definitely helped me do that.
Now you probably answered it just now, but how do you think you have grown as a player? I mean, from 3 months ago to now, how have you seen the growth?
I feel like I've matured a lot more in my my approach to rugby and stuff like that. I feel like I see the game in a broader context instead of something more individual, as in like when I play, instead of just wanting to play the best I can, but then playing a role in the team where I know I can get the best out of the team and stuff like that. So I feel like I've grown in the sense that I feel like I can contribute to the team in a broader sense of being able to elevate the level of the squad and stuff like that. And then from like, I guess, a mental standpoint of just being able to recognize like the importance of like an encompassing outlook at high performance, stuff like that, and seeing everything that really goes into the preparation for a game week and stuff like that.
Now you've been there, like we talked about, over 3 months. What's been the most challenging part of this whole experience?
Well, preseason 10, like that was hell. That was really hard to get through, but that was something I like was really looking forward to, like challenging myself in the beginning of the season. So that was something that I wasn't really shying away from, and I was really happy to get through it. But I guess the most challenging thing for me was like in the first game of the season, I picked up an injury that I had to get operated on, and I have a couple weeks left of the rehab, but kind of being away from family and having to deal with like the logistics of that, like dealing with like the medical aid and like the insurance, stuff like that. And although the physio team was like unbelievable helping me like get through that stage, not having like, my mom that I can just go home and talk to about stuff like that. Like that was like something I guess like you would take for granted a little bit when you're at home. But like still that was something like if being put in a challenging environment like that, I felt like I grew massively, because not only are you learning skills that will help you as a player, but like as a person, like you learn how to deal with unfortunate events and you learn how to move on from them. So, yeah. And I guess another challenging aspect was trying to implement like a strategy where I can continue to develop and take in all the resources around me to develop, because ultimately, like, the goal here is to leave a better player than I arrived. And even if I'm not playing as much as I would like to, I'm still eager to like usurp all the experiences around me. Like Neil DeCock, our scrum half coach, like, he's been great because I can send him a text and we'll be in watching film for like an hour a couple times a week, and just to be able to nitpick his brain on certain stuff like that is massive for a young scrum half like me. So definitely a challenge to sort of take a step back, see what I can do, be as effective as I can, and then find if there are ways that I can prove that I'm getting better. Because, you know, like I said, if you're trying to improve your bench, like, you just like test bench like 8 weeks apart and you can see some real change. But if you're trying to develop like your mind as an athlete, it's not necessarily as simple as, you know, the numbers on a page or something like that. So
are the coaches, are they put
it's
more
an awesome challenge.
Yeah, go ahead, Damian.
Go ahead. No, that was it.
I was just going to say, does Neil and some of the other coaches, do they put responsibility on the young players? Do they ask more from them as time goes on?
Yeah, without a doubt. As the program goes on, obviously, like, the expected level of performance increases and stuff like that. And so, especially in like the scrum half unit, everyone's expected to sort of be accountable for their work and stuff like that. So when you step foot on the pitch and you're wearing the number 9 or 21 or whatever it may be, like, you're charged with really taking control of our attack and organizing the defense and stuff like that. So in the first couple of weeks where like we had inter squad like matches and training and stuff like that, you know, the coaches wouldn't be as hard on a player because they're just getting used to that system. But as the program progresses, obviously the roles become a bit larger because the effect on the team is just going to grow if you really embrace it. So yeah, definitely the coaches are critical on players for their development.
Now, you talked about the season. How's the season been going? How many games have you played? Who have you been playing? Tell us a little bit about how that's going.
One thing that's kind of awesome is like we've played 8 games so far. We're 5-3. But what's really cool is because SAS is kind of like, we aren't like a team of contracted professionals, and we aren't like a club team that trains twice a week. We're a team of players who have been brought into like a high performance environment and who are expected to like train the house down and play as hard as they can be. So we're literally playing teams from like the local U20 club an hour away to a team of like fully contracted academy players. Like last week, the Blue Bulls Academy flew down to Stellenbosch just to give us a match, which is like incredible because each one of those players is a contracted individual to one of the winningest franchises in South African rugby, if not like a Southern Hemisphere rugby. So to see sort of like the level of sport and the attention to detail they bring to us when we play them is really awesome. And like even in the first half, like we were leading them like 19-17, and so it's just a testament to like the quality of the squad we have, that we can put a team like that to the sword for the first half.
Now, what's been your favorite experience about all these games?
My favorite experience would just be seeing the like growth within the squad, because we sort of like you come in, you finish like X amount of weeks of training and stuff like that, and you don't really know. You think you have a good idea of like what everyone's going to bring to match day, but then some dudes just surprise you with like the craziest skills. And it's really awesome to see like the guys who may be a little quiet, a little shy around the squad in the beginning come out and be like absolute performers and stuff like that. So just to see sort of guys finding their being able to sort of sing their own tune and leave their own mark on the game is really cool. Is really cool.
And how old are the players on your teams? You're 18. Are they all in that same area? What's the range?
Um, it's more. It's like mostly 18, but like obviously we have like a couple 19-year-olds, couple 20-year-olds, and I think we have two 21-year-olds. So it's not like a big difference at all. And if it's just like there's a bunch of dudes like living together, so age isn't really a big factor.
And you mentioned an injury. What was that? And what's the recovery like?
Yeah, so I had to get I tore the front of my labrum in my shoulder, which sucks. But it was in the first game. I caught a kickoff. It was a high ball, so I in hindsight I should have just like gotten rid of it, set a quick ruck from the forwards and just bang it downfield and keep playing. But I guess I just felt under pressure and just took it into contact, and I sent for a stiff arm and it just popped out. I immediately knew it popped out. It just felt like it was not in place. So I was just kind of sitting there for a little bit. They popped it back in, and I was kind of forced with two different possible scenarios. Was either you can do a 4 weekish rehab, conservative, and then just get you back playing, or you can get an operation now and then kind of hopefully not have to worry about the injury ever again, because it's a successful surgery that works really well in young rugby players. So I was fortunate to actually work with the surgeon who operated the same surgery on both of Siakalisi's shoulders, which is pretty cool. I'm definitely in good hands, and it's obviously a bit of a sting to miss out on some awesome games, stuff like that. But I don't know, it's another challenge, it's another something to take on, another brick in the wall, if you get the Pink Floyd reference, just to move on and get better and grow as a person. So I guess the first couple of days of realizing that I might be on the sideline for a little extended period kind of stung, but after that, you just have to crack on and accept that you're playing a sport where injuries come quite often. You got to make the most of every experience.
That was Gary Gold. I know Gary was in South Africa. I'm not sure if he's still there, but has he had a chance to meet up with you while you've been there?
I actually have been really fortunate enough to meet Gary on a couple of occasions just for a coffee to sort of tell him about my experience, because he was sort of the one who knew our head coach, Ernst Joubert, and he was the one who kind of put 2 and 2 together to get me this opportunity and function with the U.S. Rugby Foundation and stuff like that. So I'm super grateful for him for believing in me and seeing potential in me and getting me this opportunity down here. So he's been great for just having someone to talk to for just any type of rugby advice and stuff like that, which has been really awesome. I'm not gonna lie though, the first time I met him, I was ridiculously nervous. I was so anxious, and the problem was I drank a coffee before as well, because I was kind of I don't know, I don't even drink coffee. I just drank a coffee because I guess he was like, "Do you want to grab a coffee?" And I was like, that does not help the jitters one bit. So I was going into it a bit nervous, but he's super awesome, and the coaching philosophy he was bringing to the States is really something that I think will benefit the United States, as well as I just wanted to pick his brain a little bit about his view on American rugby and stuff like that, and see what he thought about the future of American rugby. And after a few minutes, I could just tell he definitely has the best interest of American rugby players at heart and the union at heart, which means a lot to me, because the United States rugby is it's my country, it's the sport I love. So I want to see it succeed, and to know that it's in the good hands of a coach like Gary Gold is really awesome.
Now let's talk a little bit about the COVID-19 implications for you guys. It seems like South Africa's opened up slowly. What have you had to go through, and what are the kind of the progress and process you have to take with the COVID-19 down there?
For sure. I mean, I actually have a good story to share. So the academy, COVID obviously was easing up for a while, and like all the trainers and all the coaches were getting vaccines because they're sort of first priority and stuff like that. So I was kind of waiting to see when I'd get my shot to get the vaccine, but it doesn't look like I'll be able to get one before I get back to the States. So SAS, the Stellenbosch Academy, runs a 15s program in unison with a sevens program, which is headed by Frankie Horn, which is like Blitzbox legend. So it's essentially the same time frame. It's just offset by a couple of weeks. So their last week was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and they were supposed to play in the Rugby Africa tournament. So, I mean, it's like a bunch of guys our age, kind of in the same boat, playing against like the Blitzbox, Zimbabwe, Kenya, like superstars of the international game. And their whole squad got like ran through with COVID, and they had to isolate for the last week, what would have been like the final hurrah of their camp, which sucks. So after that whole show, thankfully no one in the 15th program got COVID, but kind of SAS sort of locked down again back on its COVID restrictions. But I guess like it's really not that bad. You just have to be aware of the threat, and any disciplined and mature player shouldn't have to worry about it because at the end of the day, there's so many high-performing teams in this one space that, you know, one slip-up could cost a lot of people, you know, like their ability to go to work and stuff like that. So just being able to respect the rules and stuff like that isn't a big challenge, and it's not something that I mean, at this point, like I don't even think about it anymore. It's just about daily life, like wake up, do the COVID screen, not too hard really.
Now, you talked early on about getting out a little bit more. You talked about going to the beach, surfing. You talked about going to get a coffee, which you don't drink, by the way. What are some of the other sites you've seen in South Africa while you've been there?
One thing that was really cool was we went to Tabletop Mountain, which is like one of the 7 wonders of the world. And I guess I'm like fanboying out on my like tourist experience, but it's literally like 1 kilometer or 2 of just flat mountaintop in Cape Town, like the biggest mountain in Cape Town, which is pretty cool. We took the cable car up, which is cool. I sort of did like the whole sort of waterfront Cape Town experience, which was fun. I was able to I had a bit of time. I had sort of a weird day where I had like training through the morning, and then I had a checkup appointment with the doctor right outside of Cape Town, and then the boys were playing the University of Cape Town later that day. So I had like a 4-hour window of either do I like take the hour drive back to Stellenbosch, like wait an hour, then do the hour drive back to the university. So that didn't really make sense. So I went in town to Cape Town for the day, which was kind of cool. And I actually went to like the Museum for Contemporary Art just to have a gander and just check it out, which was really cool. And then I saw some cool coffee shops, even though I don't drink coffee, which is fun.
Well, good. Now, you think you could live in South Africa?
I've pondered this question because from a purely rugby perspective and the country perspective, it's a beautiful place to be. Like the level of rugby is amazing. Like everyone's indulges themselves in the sport. Like the countryside is beautiful. The cities are awesome. But for me, at the end of the day, I think it's a little too far from home. Like if I was in Europe or something, like my brother's going to school in Paris next year. So like I wouldn't be too far from him or whatever it may be. Or if I'm back home in the States, my family's right there. So I think South Africa is just probably too far away from home at this point in my life to sort of establish it as like a permanent place of residence.
You talked about home a little bit. I think on our first call, you said you were still a senior at Xavier High School in New York. And you had to finish your classes while you're at Stellenbosch. What's that experience like?
So I had my my last class of Xavier High School like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago now. And that was just a really surreal experience. Like I'm waiting for graduation right now, which is June 10th. And it's just been a really surreal experience. I felt like I probably haven't had enough time to sort of sit down and debrief what has been like the most formative experience of my life, because I got to Xavier and I had zero expectations. I didn't know what to expect. And I set the bar pretty high for myself from a rugby standpoint. And then as sort of rugby began to get better for me at school, I saw sort of this knock-on effect where the rugby team was teaching me a lot about discipline and hard work and stuff like that. It just like flowed perfectly into my school. And before Xavier, I was never like a great student. I was kind of an average student. And like the discipline I learned as a rugby player at Xavier translated immediately into my school life. And out of nowhere, I became like a first honor student, which to me was like, what? How could, no, not me. But then I started getting all this success as a student as well, which is so cool because I could not only like focus on stuff that interests me in the class, but also as a rugby player. So during that whole time, and then playing with the USA under 18s and high school Americans and all the era tours and stuff like that, the obvious culmination to what would have been an amazing 4 years was, graduation at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York. Like, you cannot go a day at Xavier without seeing a picture of the famous graduation at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Like, black tux, you have the rose in the pocket, and like everyone they just take pictures with the teachers after. Like, you could tell yourself at the end of every day, like that's coming one day. So to not be a part of that is a bit, I guess it's a bit bittersweet, but then again, it's a testament to sort of where I've been, that I'm able to be in a country like South Africa, and that I'm doing what I could only dream about a year ago. So it's bittersweet, but I mean, I'm loving the experience here, and I'll be able to join the call on Zoom and stuff. But I guess it is really cool for me because I have a twin brother as well. And so to see him graduate, I was able to watch his Zoom on graduation. So even though I may not feel like I can be on my graduation, to be able to see him graduate was made the world for me, because it's like we're twins. We'll go through the same stuff together throughout life. So if I can't make my graduation, at least I get to see his, which is really cool.
I graduated from Grand Rapids Catholic Central High School in 1977, and that experience was a little different than what you guys are going through. What else?
Yeah.
Anything else you miss from home about being away for so long? I mean, 18 years old, a great experience for you, obviously, but it's got to be some other things you miss about the States.
For the longest time, I was missing like American like Netflix and stuff like that, because obviously, like when you're in a different country, you can't really like get into like the American media and stuff like that. But finally, I found a good VPN, so that issue is long gone. Obviously, miss my family, miss my dog dearly. I guess one thing though, like Chipotle in New York is huge. That was a part of my daily routine forever, because it was like the perfect meal for after a gym, because you get the perfect balance of carbs and protein and stuff like that. So it's the perfect excuse to go eat fast food. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't really miss that much. I feel like I have a pretty simple way of life. So,
do they feed you well? I mean, is it like a training camp? They have certain meals. Can you go and get snacks at the cafeteria?
Yeah,
how's it work?
So there are three blocks throughout the day for meals, and that's just like a proper meal. So breakfast, you have your eggs, different yogurts, granola, fruit, oatmeal, toast, coffee, whatever you want. So breakfast is pretty simple, pretty average breakfast, and then lunch and dinners where they kind of mix it up with just like, I mean, it's an athlete's diet, like pasta, chicken, different potatoes, sweet potato, steak, whatever. Like they had steak for dinner at night and sweet potatoes. So, I mean, I can't really complain from a food point. It's all pretty good. And I also have like, you can go grab a smoothie kind of whenever you want throughout the day, which is nice. And then to have sort of, you kind of have to create that balance of nutrition, because living in this environment and training as much as you can, you really want to kind of get as much out of your body as possible. So that was definitely something that I learned, that there's a lot that goes into a week's preparation. And so being able to focus on my nutrition and like being able to focus on my flexibility and stuff like that. And my recovery was huge to sort of understand and grow as a player, is like what needs to go into a games week preparation. And then that just fell hand in hand as I just learned about nutrition here.
Have you been able to follow the MLR? And if so, what are your thoughts of the league back here?
Man, I think the MLR is like off the charts right now. I like the MLR is so cool to me because not only do I think the league is in a great place, like the social media content being pushed out it's easily digestible, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it can be passed around easily. A non-rugby fan can enjoy it, stuff like that. And then not only on top of that, but the league actually has like some proper infrastructure to grow. Like we have lots of teams have their own stadiums. They've built their own stadiums, which is mind blowing to me that we have rugby stadiums in the States, which is awesome. Like it's being broadcasted on perfect levels of like, I log into my computer and I go to the rugby network and boom, I have like any game at my disposal. And so for me, who's someone who's really trying to watch as much film as I can, I try and watch about a rugby game a day. Like have the rugby network at my disposal, like at my fingertips to watch American rugby is awesome. And also to see like a team like New York, who their first year in the league was my freshman year, grow and be competitive and push for the top spot in the East and eventually push for a shot at the title is like is awesome to me because, you know, like a baseball fan or a baseball a little bit, but rugby was really like the sport that I supported passionately. So to have a home team like that it's awesome. And on top of that, I find there's such a good balance of experience and homegrown talent right now. Like you look around the league and I look at New York right now, and like in the scrum halves, for example, you've got Andy Ellis, who is I forget how many caps he has for the All Blacks, but he won the World Cup in 2011, and like you got young scrum halves like Connor Buckley, who's a scrum half before me at Xavier, and Connor McManus, like high school All-American in Fort Hunt, like down the road from Xavier, and they get to rub shoulders daily with a player like Andy Ellis. Like you might not necessarily see that live on TV, but what's going on behind the scenes is just going to pay dividends for the Eagles. Or you look at the Giltinis and you have Adam Ashley Cooper and like Ryan James, who came through the same sort of era type high school American pathway. Like to have the league be just a feeder for the Eagles is going to be huge. Because like you look at Japan, I'm not sure when the top league started, but I assume it was sometime like 2010-ish, maybe maybe a little bit before that. But by 2015, you know, like they beat the Springboks at the World Cup. So having our own league of homegrown talent is only going to help the Eagles. And I expect the 2023 World Cup, although we've drawn into a difficult pool, like will be a force to reckon with.
Now, Damian, I'm not sure if we're going to have a chance to talk before you leave for the States from Stellenbosch, but anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
I guess like there isn't, well, words can't really describe how thankful I am for this experience. To the Graham Downs Development Fund, to the USA Rugby Foundation for not only helping me out to have this experience, but to do stuff like this and to engage me in ways that I wouldn't necessarily have been engaged. To be able to reflect on an experience like this is massive, and it's definitely something that's not lost on me. Like I feel like I'll look back on this experience in 2 or 3 years, 5 years, and be really grateful for the opportunity that I got to come to South Africa and learn as grow as a player and grow as a person and stuff like that. So many thanks, an impossible amount of thanks to the U.S. Rugby Foundation and the Graham Downs Development Fund. It really is an amazing opportunity that I was blessed to receive, and the USA Rugby Foundation will be something that I'll definitely be supporting for the rest of my life.
Damian, we wish you the best of luck. Good luck on your rehab, and after Stellenbosch, your rugby, your schooling, whatever you do in the future. So it's been a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you a little bit better, and I think everybody will agree that you're a shining light in U.S. rugby. So congratulations, what you've done so far.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Yeah, it's been awesome.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We're going to have more With You podcasts in the future. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you once again, Damian, for taking part. And if you'd like more information about the With You podcast or the U.S. Rugby Foundation, go to our homepage at usrugbyfoundation.org. That's going to do it, folks. Thank you. And until next time, stay safe.